What's going on, Whisper Nation? It's Friday, May 14th, and we're back at it, the Fantasy Whispers. I'm Johnny Game Time. That's Big Travy, and we are talking and finishing our rookie trilogy here of breaking down all these rookies, and we're also going to dive into the tight ends as well. We got a couple of names you might want to take a look out for in this upcoming draft right here on the Fantasy Whispers.
Right here.
That's right, Whisper Nation. We are back. It's another live show. And if you're hearing my voice or seeing this beautiful beard and crazy hair that I got going on today, do us a huge favor and hit that like and subscribe button. And whatever platform you're on, share this stream because it's really going to help us with the algorithms, help us grow the channel so that we can help chase the dream. You can help us get that dream. And then we can continue to give you more fantasy football content. It's like a circle. It just keeps going. If you're new to the Fantasy Whispers, welcome. Please consider hitting up us with a follow or a subscribe, like I said, on any platform you're on. That would be huge. We release that fantasy football content daily. You can find us or our past shows on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Spotify. Just search the Fantasy Whispers or go to thefantasywhispers.com. We have links to everything here. But guys, I mean, check it out. Whisper Nation, we're excited to debut our all-new TFW FF chat on Discord. The message board is absolutely free with all of Whisper Nation and will include advice threads, content links, exclusive video clips, and a community dedicated to this incredible game of fantasy football. So join us today by clicking that link. We just dropped it in the chat on whatever platform you're on. I think I got to get it up here on Periscope as well. Or you can go to our Instagram bio, follow the link to Discord there. It's as easy as that. Can't wait to see y'all in there. Absolutely free. Johnny, we're going to talk about these QB landing spots, as we said. But here's the deal. We got to talk question of the day. You always come in, you always stop me before I get too excited. So what's going on? What do you got for me today?
Yeah, we like to warm up the old vocal cords before we do deep dives, and we have a jam-packed episode today, Travis. Like we're going over a lot of players, at the quarterback position as well as the tight ends. So I wanted to make it a little bit easier for you on this question of the day. And Whisper Nation, feel free to drop in the comments below what your answer to this is. Okay. So here's the thing: we're wrapping up the trilogy on these rookie positions and their impact. If you want to check those out, we have those on our YouTube page, our past episodes, as well as available on podcasts. Just a shameless plug there, Travis. But I will say,
best in the business.
I need you to do me a favor. I need you to rank these movie trilogies. All right.
Okay.
Since we're wrapping
up
our trilogy here. So we're gonna I want you to rank these. All right. Keep, trade, cut these trilogies. All right. First one,
trade, cut, or is it? Am I ranking them?
No. Let's keep, trade, cut them. We'll keep it kind of fantasy football related. So keep, trade, cut. All right. The first trilogy is the Fast and Furious trilogy. All right. The second
that's not really a trilogy. It's like
unbelievable.
So there's like 70. There's
is it a lifestyle?
Yeah, there's 70 million movies there. Dude.
Okay, well it's okay. I guess trilogy means three, but okay, we'll just say for the sake of this argument, Fast and Furious. Okay, Terminator, or the Batman, and like it's like the newest. Like
you're talking Nolan's Batmans.
Yeah, not the Ben Affleck ones. Yeah. Not that
or
one.
Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan's Batmans are number one, dude. You could have just stopped there. We didn't have to talk about anything else. First of all, Heath Ledger as Joker was incredible. Tom Hardy as Bane was absolutely stunning. It was just a great all-around movie. I love Nolan's dark style on Batman and other movies, and then his time, his manipulation of time in all his movies is great. So cinematic masterpiece there. So as far as I got to go, Fast and Furious is number 2. I like Terminator, but it falls off after 2 for me.
So are you cutting Terminator? Are you?
Yeah,
you're obviously keeping. You're keeping the Batman.
Actually,
one.
I'd keep the Batman, and I'm trading Fast and Furious because there's a bunch of Fast and Furious heads out there. So you're gonna get a lot back for Fast and Furious. So you keep Nolan's Batman because it's so good. You go ahead and trade the Fast and Furious franchise, and then you go ahead and cut the Terminator franchise.
All right. I like that one. I like
Josh A in here says, we in here. Yeah, Josh A. Jay Blizzy, do us a favor, Whisper Nation champ. Smash that Discord link. Join us over there on Discord, man. We appreciate you, bro.
All right. Well, that was it. That was my warm
That
up
was it.
question.
You got nothing on that? Do you agree with my take there?
I do agree with your take there. I think it's the way
That's
you
right.
broke it down is quite nice. And yeah, man, I will say this before we jump to the show. The Batman trilogy was the first movie where I actually felt as if I were like in the movie and I felt panicked. Like with every movie, like, you know, you like felt that like, oh my gosh, Batman really needs to come and save the day. And you kind of felt like you were in that. And that was just a cool feeling for me. I always love the Batman trilogy. I quote it all the time on the show. You know that. But yeah, that was it. That was it.
Well, that without further ado, let's get in the show. This is the title card here. It says we're going to talk about the fallout of the quarterbacks, where they went, where they were drafted, and also the tight ends at the back end of this show. We've got to talk about what this means for fantasy football, if it's an uptick for some of the weapons around them, if we think these guys will make a difference in their rookie season. Because, Johnny, we're seeing the league kind of change here. Okay, last year, both Herbert and Burrow were streamable options, and Herbert down the stretch was a starter for a lot of teams because he was doing it well. So are we going to have that opportunity with some of the rookies? We're about to dive into that right now and tell you our thoughts on that. First, we got to start with the man, the myth, the hair, Trevor Lawrence, who was drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars in round 1 as pick 1. Look, he's a 5-star recruit. We knew that out of high school. 3 years of elite college production. Everything you would want in a number 1 overall pick. 34-2 in college career. Height, weight, and even mobility, Johnny. Even with that hair, it doesn't slow him down. He gets it going. And then you look at the weapons they put around him. James Robinson, obviously, Travis Etienne, who we talked about a couple weeks ago, drafted in the first round. DJ Shark, Marvin Jones, and Laviska Shenault. I love what they did to complement both Shark and Shenault. The underrated signing of Marvin Jones, Johnny, is actually, I think, going to help this offense quite a bit. And I really like what I see out of Trevor Lawrence. And honestly, Mac opened my eyes. Mac from the Snap Football Podcast, their link is in our description. He opened my eyes to the mobility that Trevor Lawrence has. People aren't talking about this enough, that he definitely has the mobility here. And I think that we need to start talking about it because that could be the difference. We talked about last year how Joe Burrow was sneaky mobile. Speaking of Batman, it's time to go mobile.
Yeah, I know. I was about to say that.
I know. I had to stop you before you did. But yeah, that's what I think is Trevor Lawrence has that sneaky mobility, and that is going to be good for you in fantasy. But I guess, Johnny, my question is, like, can we trust him enough to be drafting him? I think he's a guy you're going to pick up on waivers, if anything, or stream if your first streamers didn't work out.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that we're getting into the type of territory now where it's becoming more of a fantasy football is a flex leagues, right? Like, or a super flex league.
Oh, you're flexing on him?
Yeah, or super flexing on him because they put the quarterback or you're able to put the quarterback and play 2 quarterbacks because, you know, the position is so deep these days. Now, what I will say is in those leagues, yeah, I'm much more interested in Trevor Lawrence. I do think that he will be, you know, a top 12 quarterback because I don't think that defense is going to be that great, Travis. So I do think they'll be throwing a lot, and he's very accurate. He's got nice weapons. So I do think that you will be able to stream him from time to time. If it's a single quarterback league, you'll definitely be able to do that. I'll be interested. If it's a 2 quarterback league, I think he's a fine number 2 for you. I don't know if I would like that 3rd quarterback where you can use to play the schedule. I don't know if I would be confident in him as being like that rock solid number 1 guy year 1. But that said, I think Trevor Lawrence is a really good pick. I think he's really solid.
Yeah, in Dynasty, I think he's definitely the guy you invest in of all these guys, but that's not I'm not shocking anybody when I say that, but I think in Dynasty, is he worth, where's his cutoff? Or where are you taking him, Johnny, in a rookie draft? Are you taking him 6, 7, 8, somewhere around there in the first round? Or are you waiting until the end of the first round? What's your thought on Lawrence and his outlook in Dynasty rookie drafts?
Again, it depends on what your situation is and what your depth at the wide or at the quarterback position is. Listen, if you need a quarterback, I think you should take him. You could take him number 1 overall. I think there is an argument if you need a quarterback because I do think he's going to be that good to where it'll be worth that in Dynasty. However, if it's a 2 quarterback league, again, super flex league, Dynasty league, I think you take him higher. I don't know if I would take him number 1 overall. unless I really needed a quarterback. But it is going to be a little bit rocky to start off. It's not going to be consistent. So that's the other thing. I always address the positions and your need of your roster. So it's a little bit difficult for me to say, like, yeah, absolutely take him all the time, number one overall. But there are situations where I've advised, people who DM us, it's wise to take him there.
Well, speaking of wise, it looked like the Jets made the wise move to move on from Sam Darnold and then draft a guy in Zack Wilson out of BYU in the first round at pick number 2. Mm-hmm. Johnny, talked to us about the boy wonder, Zack Wilson, who looks like he belongs on the Disney Channel. He is just a perfect specimen of blonde hair, blue eyes. How do you feel about Zack Wilson, Disney Channel extraordinaire?
Well, did you see, I believe it was like Barstool Sports who put this out on Instagram, but it was like on Mother's Day. It was like, hey, happy Mother's Day to Zack Wilson's mom, because I don't know if you've seen the picture of his mother.
But I'm excited to look that up.
It was very, very funny. However, Zack Wilson's mom doesn't play the game with him. And I think that, if you're talking about this year, right, I think Zack Wilson is a little bit further down on my list for players this year and my excitement for him this year, simply because just the Jets situation, right? He's got great weapons around him. They've drafted, Elijah Moore, speedy wide receiver. They've got Denzel Mims. They brought in Corey Davis. They got Michael Carter, who I do think is a good running back. But I do think with this system, it will tend to be a little bit more run heavy. And like we said, Zack Wilson is a little raw. And so just like we saw with kind of a Josh Allen situation where it was like, yeah, we could see the true potential in games of Zack Wilson or of Josh Allen, but it's just not consistent. I think he'll turn over the ball his first year. And so I'm not looking to play him this first year, but I do think he's going to be a really fun quarterback to watch. And, I'll definitely keep an eye on him, especially in the beginning of the year, to see if I want to pick him up off of waivers or something like that, Travis. But that's kind of where I'm at with Zack Wilson.
Yeah, so check it out. You said Michael Carter, Elijah Moore. You talked about Zack Wilson himself, all rookies. That's 3 rookies on your starting offense in big positions. Mm-hmm. Then you talk about Mike LaFleur, the offensive coordinator, first-time play caller. You talk about Robert Saleh, first-time head coach. So there's a lot of newbies coming into this offense. Or into
offensive line is rough.
Yeah, so there's just some things that are giving you some trepidation when you look at it. And plus, Johnny, he's not the most mobile quarterback. It's not what he's known for, okay? Now, he can scramble out and make throws on the run. That's going to save him. That's going to help him in the NFL. But he's not extending plays and giving you those bonus points or that Konami code, as Rich Rebar likes to say, in fantasy. And so for me, give me a guy like Justin Fields, who we'll talk about in a little bit, mm-hmm. Trey Lance, and even Trevor Lawrence edges out because of his mobility. Those are guys that I'm more interested in just because they have the ability to pull a Lamar Jackson. I mean, not that high, but like the cheat code type of play that happens. So that's where I'm at with Zack Wilson. He just doesn't have the wheels for me yet. But let's move on. Let's talk Trey Lance. Johnny, you and I butted heads a little bit about Trey Lance's tape early on, about who he was, about the small school, about the lack of who he played in college. And so, but I really liked what I saw on tape. I mean, this guy was making big time throws. He did only play in one showcase game last year in 2020 due to COVID, but it didn't matter for the Niners. They took him in round 1 at pick 3. Johnny and I talked about how they did this specific pro day for Trey Lance. His breakout season in 2019 was really nice. 28 passing touchdowns, 0 picks, 14 rushing touchdowns. So he is that true dual threat, powerful arm. He's got a lot of rawness to his game. But I like the comps that I'm seeing to Josh Allen because that makes me feel like with the right system, with the right weapons, you talk about the weapons that he's got, Raheem Mostert, Trey Sermon in the backfield, right? But then talk about the wide receivers and tight ends. Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, meaning that he doesn't have to be the perfect quarterback. He just gets the ball in those yak monsters' hands. They do it for him. And then George Kittle, what better safety net to have than George Kittle? I am actually loving Trey Lance in best ball drafts. I'm loving him in dynasty if you need a guy because he's married to Kyle Shanahan, who's a great offensive coordinator. And I'm loving him in redrafts as a late dart throw. You get your one quarterback that you're taking the chance on early. Maybe you take a chance on Justin Fields a little bit earlier. Or not Justin Fields, but Jalen Hurts a little bit earlier, right? Few
Mhm.
rounds ahead. And then last round, you scoop up a Trey Lance, or maybe a couple rounds deeper, or before that, you scoop up Trey Lance. Then you've got something working there. And they're both guys that are mobile and get you to a position where you can kind of win your week with that mobility. I just think there's a lot of upside here with Trey Lance, and I think he went to a right situation.
I do think that the situation definitely benefited him and how excited I was for him. The only thing I'll say is that I don't know if he's going to be named the starter come week 1. He very well could be because of the draft capital, but so far, I mean, they've been, the 49ers have been pretty transparent with what their plans are. And the whole thing is, I mean, they're saying it's kind of an open quarterback situation. Like Jimmy G is the quote unquote starter, but it's a quarterback competition, right? And so that would be my only concern. Once again, he's going to be similar to Justin Fields, who we're going to talk about next. But he's going to be a guy that I might not necessarily draft, but I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on him and that situation for the 49ers. And what it's going to take, honestly, is if Trey Lance isn't the starter come week 1, then that's going to be good because he'll be on the waiver wire, honestly, right? No one's going to draft him. And then I would just keep that situation monitored and maybe even get him a week early, get him 2 weeks early. Cause you can kind of I haven't looked at San Francisco's schedule deeply yet. So I'm not positive on when their bye week is, but you can certainly bet that if it's an earlier bye week or like mid to early bye week, there is very strong consideration that they would turn to Trey Lance if it's not going well to begin with. And so I just think that there is
bye week is in week 6. So that seems set up to kind of do it. So they open the season Lions, Eagles, Packers, Seahawks, Cardinals. You take the Lions out of there, and those are some tough games as long as quarterbacks stay where they're supposed to be. You could easily see this team going 2-4 or 3-3 and going, hey, is it time to turn over? And here's the thing. We don't know. June 1st comes around. They may want to deal Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, they've talked about how he'll still be or they don't know. They asked Kyle Shanahan if he'll still be on the roster, and he said something like major deflection. He said something like, I don't know if I'll be alive Sunday.
Yeah. We don't know if we're going to be here on Sunday.
It's like, okay, that is true, but that's usually what somebody who's deflecting says, and that's what a great master deflection by Kyle Shanahan. Yeah, I want to make a caveat. You said the right thing. I got excited emotionally about Trey Lance. You came in with the logic there and said, look, if he's the starter, yes. I want to caveat what I'm saying. Like, he'd have to be named starter for that, but I like taking the risk. We get to July and August when you're drafting, and even in Dynasty, I think you can feel comfortable that Trey Lance will be the starter by the end of the year. That's my point. I think he could be named starter by training camp, or he could be starter by the end of the year. And either way, in Dynasty, I think he's a good ad.
Well, I think, like you said, with best ball, if it's best ball, take that in a deeper draft, and you got the upside if it ends up hitting. So, because we do know that quarterbacks do well in the system. So I do like that play call.
All right, well, moving on, we're going to talk about the next quarterback that was drafted, and the Chicago Bears aggressively moved up and got at pick 11 their guy who they hope is their franchise quarterback. And what I've seen happen was a lot of people crown the Bears as the winner of the NFL draft because of this move. And really, I think what it was is everybody just respected the fact that they went out and were aggressive, and they did it, and they got their guy. He's probably going to sit behind Dalton for the first few weeks, Johnny. But then we'll see if they turn over the keys to Fields. And this is a guy who's got the wheels and has a good arm strength. How are you feeling about Justin Fields, Johnny?
Yeah, he's probably one of my favorite guys in this list. He, like I said, he's one of those guys that you're not going to probably draft because Andy Dalton's going to be the starter. But that's good news because you can kind of take your dart throws early, right, in the draft. And then if they miss that first week, I would then go and possibly look to pick up Justin Fields. And I'll tell you why. It's because of the weapons that he has around him in Chicago, right? He's got David Montgomery. He's got Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, Anthony Miller. We'll see if he ends up making the team. There were rumors he was trying to trade him. And then Cole Kmet. So that's a very solid weapons to put around a guy like Justin Fields. And Did I just say? Yeah. Okay.
I
was
get him
like,
mixed up with Jalen Hurts all the time, dude.
I was like, did I just say the wrong thing? But yeah, so Justin Fields to me would be able to step into a situation. And, you also have to look at what Matt Nagy has done in the past. And I'm not saying that Justin Fields is the next Pat Mahomes, but Justin, if you look at that situation, he did usher in, from Alex Smith to Pat Mahomes and make sure that went, pretty well. Now, here's what I will say, and the reason why I do feel so confident that Justin Fields will be the starter for the Chicago Bears sooner rather than later, and that's because this is the season and the career for Matt Nagy is on the line for coaching. Like, this is the final year of their contract, and if they don't win and get into the playoffs, then he doesn't have a job, and no one's going to rehire him as a head coach because he didn't win a lot. And so I believe that they'll start off with Andy Dalton because he's the veteran. They can at least potentially see if they have something in Andy Dalton. And then I think they're going to find, okay, he's not anything significant. And then they're going to end up turning it over to Justin Fields because they need to in order to save their jobs. Now, once that happens, like we talked about, he does have that kind of Konami code where he can rush. And he also has the arm strength and the talent with the weapons to actually put it all together. We do know Ohio State, quarterbacks don't tend to translate well in the NFL. But I will say, like, this kid was like, it's not like he all of a sudden came out of nowhere. He actually came from, a solid foundation.
What I love about Fields is he's not a guy who just hit a bunch of swing passes for Ohio State, and he played against good competition. He put the ball on a rope a lot of times. He ran when he needed to. He picked and chose his spots. He is a guy who seems to have a good head on his shoulder. I love what you brought up here, Johnny. I wrote it down so much. I loved it. Matt Nagy, Mahomes connection. This is going to be the best or maybe the most prolific quarterback that Matt Nagy's ever had. And so we're going to see maybe something in the offense open up for him and what he might be capable of doing play calling wise. I'm excited about what Fields could mean for David Montgomery, for Allen Robinson, even for Cole Kmet. I'm excited to see what Cole Kmet can do because we talk about rookie quarterbacks and the way they pepper their tight ends. I'm excited about this offense as much as a Packers fan can be, but for fantasy football purposes, and that's what this show's all about. That's what I like. Jacob Bley comes in here, says, love Lance and Fields as dynasty options and 2 QB league options. And I would extend that even to Trevor Lawrence, who, like Johnny said, in 2 QB leagues, we like him as well. The rest of these guys are kind of just going to be, quick hitters, Johnny. I'm going to talk a little bit about Mac Jones, who was drafted next to the New England Patriots.
Who?
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones.
So Mac Jones taken by the Patriots. And I remember thinking on draft night when we were live, Johnny, that this was probably going to work this way, where he was just going to fall to 15 and the Patriots were going to be able to take him. And that's what we got. I mean, if you look at his production at Alabama in 2020, it was prolific. It was great. It was historic. He's got fast processor as far as his brain, his football IQ. He knows how to take care of the football. He threw a total of 7 interceptions in his college career while completing over 74% of his passes throughout his career while playing in the SEC. So tough competition, very smart with the football. His 4,500 passing yards led college football, and his 41 passing touchdowns were the second most in the country. So 2020 was a huge year. You worry if he's had to sit behind guys like Tua, and you wonder if he's going to, if he's a one-hit wonder. But getting into the NFL, getting into under the tutelage of Josh McDaniels and then Bill Belichick, of course, is this going to be the perfect marriage? You think it could be. For fantasy this year, I want no part of him because he just doesn't have the mobility. Now, Cam is an interesting late quarterback to take, but you have to know the risk with Cam. Obviously, the risk is, can he get it completed to the limited weapons they have, even though they beefed him up? We talked about their weapons, right? Adding Jonnu Smith, Nelson Aguilar, some of these other guys. So I think that Cam, look, Bill Belichick already said Cam's the starter. We know that that's coach speak most likely, but I feel like they signed him for another year so they can try and develop Mac Jones, because as smart as Mac Jones is, Josh McDaniels' playbook is not a joke. And so we know he's going to have to come in and learn that before he could even try to push. But we've seen what happened with Cam last year. I mean, Cam was benched for Stidham at one point. So we could see something where Cam gets benched for Mac Jones.
I do want to point out I do agree with what you're saying. He will be someone, again, that I would be really interested to see if they turn to Mac Jones if it's not working. Definitely if it's not working with Cam. But what did we say? Like week 4, I think is when New England plays Tom Brady, or week 6,
Tampa.
something like that. Yeah. So that would be really interesting. However, I do want to note that with them spending high draft capital on Mac Jones, and we know that Cam is a very competitive guy. I do like your take that Cam is I think he's interesting. We had a show I didn't make that show, but I did listen in. You guys weren't as much of a fan as I was hoping when you guys were talking about, what Cam can do in this offense. I do think the upgraded weapons are going to benefit him. But again, when you're looking at Mac Jones as a rookie,
Who?
Mac Jones, when you're looking at him as a rookie coming into the system, and he's a very smart guy, so I do think he'll pick it up rather quickly. However, you're talking about he's going from Alabama, where he had, the Heisman winner trophy, a wide receiver. He had 2 wide receivers that went in the top 10 as far as the rookie draft. Or NFL draft, excuse me. And
2 wide receivers, a running back that went in there. We talk about how, Alabama, I think, had 20 or so players drafted within the first few days. So, that's definitely an argument for Mac Jones, or against Mac Jones, is the talent he played with.
But I do think that in the future years, Mac Jones will be a guy we will be talking about, because I do think he eventually will become a solid quarterback for you.
I think his ceiling is like a Kirk Cousins. I don't think that Mac Jones is going to be anything. I don't think he'll be anything that blows you off the page. He's not going to be Tom Brady. I don't think he'll be Aaron Rodgers or, even Matt Ryan. I think he's a Kirk Cousins style, where he's going to be a little bit, fringe QB1, and that's fine. I think you can do stuff with that in dynasty and fantasy football. But as Johnny said, I think it's smart to wait. Johnny, I'm actually just going to pass the mic to you here for Kyle Trask, who was drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the 2nd round, and everybody's saying heir apparent. Just talk to us a little bit about what you see. Obviously, I don't think there's big fantasy implications for Trask anytime soon. I'm not going to be the guy that goes on air and predicts when Tom Brady's going to fall off a cliff.
Yeah, I'm done. We've been doing the show now. This is the 4th year, and every single year, Travis, I've been saying this every summer. Oh, Father Time undefeated with Tom Brady. I'm not doubting the guy anymore. Like I'm just gonna wait until it happens, and then I'm gonna be like, wow, like I still think he's defeating Father Time, like playing as long and into his career as he has. So kudos to him. Now, what I will say is Kyle Trask is going to be a guy that they'll probably try to transition to after Tom Brady. And what a great guy to look up to, right? The GOAT. And I think in this stage of Tom Brady's career, it's not as much of a threat kind of pick because he knows, all right, I'm not in here for 10 more years, right? So I do think he'll help Kyle Trask become more of a well-rounded quarterback. Right now, he did have a very productive senior year at Florida, but we know the weapons, right? He had Kyle Pitts, who went top 4, and then he also had now I'm forgetting his Kadarius Toney, who went to the Giants top 20 pick. And so a lot of people point to that as the reason why it was so productive. He is accurate passer, which is good. That's what Tom Brady is. And he is a guy who just needs to learn to develop, because right now he tends to be more of a one-read kind of quarterback. And so he needs to develop a lot more. And I'm not looking for him at all and like redraft leagues at all. In Dynasty, I probably wouldn't even look unless it's like a super deep Dynasty league. But he will be a guy that they'll probably turn to in the future years if he can learn enough behind Tom Brady.
Well, Jaws Wheaton says, first of all, thanks, Jaws, for joining us. Don't forget to hit that Discord chat link. He says maybe Brady is a raging alcoholic now playing after partying in Florida. He was very Florida man when he got there. He's got a good Florida man track record. Broke into the wrong house because he thought it was his coach's house when he first got there, if you remember that. Helped out AB. Right, remember, he helped out AB after AB was punching security cameras or whatever. So he's got a scandalous crew. And then if you saw him at the parade, he was drunk in public, dude. They had to carry him out of there, dude. And then he was throwing the Lombardi. He was throwing the Lombardi, dude.
Yeah, and he still threw a touchdown.
He threw
drunk on water. The dude's
Dude,
unstoppable.
could you imagine if Gronk dropped that, dude? That would have been the worst.
Oh,
dude.
he would have blamed Gronk too.
It's not like Brady cares. It's like, oh, this is number 7, whatever. Who cares?
Yeah.
Jaws Whedon says might need Trask. We'll see about that. Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head there. Kellen Mond was also selected, as well as Davis Mills for the Houston Texans in the 3rd round, and then Kellen Mond to the Minnesota Vikings in the 3rd round. I don't think we need to spend too much time here. Chris Sims, who was very fond of Kellen Mond, said that he had him number 3. But I think that he's not a guy that is wowing me in any way right now. So let's see what he looks like behind Kirk Cousins. If Cousins hasn't made enough mistakes in Minnesota for them to turn to anyone else, it really hasn't been on his back. He just hasn't been that over-the-top guy, and I don't think Mond's going to be that guy either. You know, the Vikings, the rumor was the Vikings were going to take Fields at 14 if the Bears didn't, so that's why the Bears moved up. So I just think for me, it's just a kind of a non-story at this point in time.
I just want, the only reason I kind of threw on the show sheet, the only reason I threw David Mills in here is because I do think it was a round 3, pick 3 overall pick. We have to remember he went to Stanford. So he's a pretty smart guy, and he was gaining a lot of steam towards the NFL draft process, but obviously he still fell. But he is they're quote unquote, he's a pro ready type of quarterback. He's got a strong arm.
Oh, yeah.
I think 217. This is the only thing I want to know, or the reason why I want to bring him up is because I think this signifies that Houston, because they didn't have a lot of draft picks because they've been trading them away the last few years. I think this signifies that Deshaun Watson is done in Houston. They know it. They're getting, they signed Tyrod Taylor in there. They got this guy, David Mills. I think it just signifies kind of the end of Deshaun Watson there. And so, we all been speculating and we don't know true fact right now. But that was why I wanted to kind of bring him up, because we could actually see him as an actual potential starter come week 1. But I don't think I would be interested in a guy like that.
No, we'll have to see how he plays, if he is pro ready, if he can be that guy. But, the way the NFL is shaping and the amount of holes that Houston Texans team has is ridiculous. So we'll just see how they do there. We're going to move on to the tight ends. But first, got to talk to Whisper Nation here. We are nothing without your guys' unwavering support, and we are so proud of this community we have built together. So if you feel it upon your heart to help us continue to grow this family and chase this dream, consider us joining forces with us over at patreon.com. You can show support at the $10, $5, and even $1 level. Even that $1, man, we appreciate so much. Patrons benefits include access to our exclusive Discord channels, entries to sports card giveaways, increased odds for landing a spot in our 2021 Listener League, and bonus fantasy content that is only available to our patrons. Head on over to patreon.com/the Fantasy Whisperers today and join the nation. Johnny, we got to talk tight ends.
Well,
we will. I'm going to let you lead it off, because the first guy is what many believe is a unicorn.
Yeah, it could be a unicorn. I just want look. I don't. Kirk Cousins
is in the chat.
No way.
Wow.
Howdy. Is this really Kirk Cousins? If this is really good, I'm glad we're a supporter of Kirk Cousins, and we're just talking him up. That'd be sweet if that really is Kirk.
That is the wildest thing, because we were literally just talking about
I
Kirk
know.
Cousins.
It would be pretty awesome.
So whoever made this burner, honestly, good on you too. And if it is Kirk Cousins, good on you too, man. Welcome to Whisper Nation. We appreciate you, man.
Yeah, we're really jacked right now. All right.
Jaws Whedon says, "Hey, Kirk, ready and willing to mentor Mond." Oh, he's trying to start the drama already. This has got to. After I go 17-0 and win MVP. All right. Jaws is in here making burners. We appreciate it. We appreciate having a conversation with himself. This is great stuff. We appreciate it. But yeah, back to the tight ends. And Kyle Pitts, obviously the highest capital ever taken on a tight end, is right here at number 4 to the Atlanta Falcons. We know at this point, Johnny, Kyle Pitts is going to be overdrafted, plain and simple. But is there a path to some fantasy relevance? Talk to the people right now about Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, so I love that you phrased it that way, Travis, because I think that's what we have to look at this glass kind of. We have to look at it from that viewpoint. And here's what I'll say. We know the history of tight ends in the league, even, athletic freak tight ends like we've seen from Kyle Pitts. And the only kind of real person that a lot of people would equate would be going all the way back to Vernon Davis. And so I will say this: Vernon Davis ended up as a tight end 21 that year for San Francisco. And so I have a lot of speculation. We know that tight ends generally take a few years to develop fully. I want to take a closer look at what happened last year in Atlanta. We had Hayden Hurst go over to Atlanta, get traded, and there was a lot of hype. His ADP rose and skyrocketed towards the end of the summer because of what we saw the previous 2 years from Austin Hooper. Well, what did Hayden Hurst end up doing? He finished as a tight end 10 and standard, tight end 9 in PPR. Travis, not fantastic, but basically around where he was kind of going. He did see 88 targets last year, or sorry, in 2020. So that was about 5.5 per game, and he averaged about 65% snap share. So Hayden Hurst is still in Atlanta. So I want to throw that out there because, and I'll give you my kind of projection on what I think this breakdown ends up being for Kyle Pitts and Hayden Hurst. But I don't only want to show you what Hayden Hurst did last year, because this is a different offense, right? We have Arthur Smith coming over. If you look at Jonnu Smith and what he did for Tennessee last year, because Arthur Smith was the offensive coordinator there, Jonnu Smith finished as the tight end 9 in standard and tight end 15 in PPR. We have to remember he was injured after week 4. That limited him the rest of the way, but he did see 65 targets in the 15 games. That's about 4.3 per game. Not really, really great, but we do have to remember that Jonnu Smith was a tight end, the number 1 tight end overall for like the first 5 weeks of fantasy. So the upside is definitely there. Here's what I want to say, or where I'll loop it all back together and I'll bring this in. Tennessee as a team had 138 targets to go to the tight end position in 2020, which was 6th most in the league. That breakdown between Jonnu Smith and Anthony Ferkshire was a 65-35 split when Jonnu Smith was fully healthy those first 5 weeks. And so I do think that will be a very similar breakdown to what we see between Hayden Hurst and Kyle Pitts. I do expect Kyle Pitts to get the 65% over Hayden Hurst's 35, but I could see a situation, Travis, where especially in the beginning of the season, Hayden Hurst is getting the majority of the snaps at the tight end position because he is a veteran, and Kyle Pitts might not know the playbook as much. They'll still have him involved, but his targets will be limited. That's when I would advise you, if you're a big fan of Kyle Pitts, to then go after Kyle Pitts. I would not advise to draft him just because he's coming off the board as like the tight end 4, tight end 5. And I still think that's a little too high. I do think he could end up finishing as like the tight end 8. I think that's definitely in the realm of possibilities, but I don't want to.
I think even tight end 6. I think he could do it, and you could see some things happen here for sure, where you're excited about the possibility of him getting end zone and red zone looks. I think he's actually going to be a better version of Eric Ebron was with Stafford. Remember, early on, he had a lot of drops in the red zone, but Ebron was targeted in the red zone. Wasn't a huge target monster, but the red zone was the situation there. We know they don't throw to Julio in the red zone. And we know Calvin Ridley's touchdown rate has just been a little too high over the first few years of his career. So for me, I think that there is a path for him. Like you said, I think his ceiling is tight end 6, tight end 5, maybe, but that everything would have to break right. And I'm not paying that price for him. I'd rather pay something around the range of Mark Andrews, who's being slept on, who could easily be number 1, as opposed to a guy who I have to take at market value. That just doesn't make a lot of sense for tight end, which is always a dumpster fire, and usually even more of a dumpster fire for rookie tight ends. Yeah. So I understand even the best, Kittle, Kelsey, these guys that have been rocking the league did not show up in day or year 1 and blow people out of the league. I just think we got to temper expectations and play a little bit smarter here. All right, Johnny, the next tight end taken was Pat Freiermuth to the Pittsburgh Steelers in round 2, pick 55 overall. Another tight end, he's got great size and athleticism, well-rounded as a blocker and receiver. You look at Ebron in the last year of his contract. I heard Sigmund Bloom talk about Freiermuth being like a Heath Miller at his best. Like, if he can get to Heath Miller status, they'll be happy. Pittsburgh had 112 targets to the tight end position. That was 17th in the league. There's just not a lot here. There's not a lot of meat on the bone for Pat Freiermuth. I think in Dynasty you could take a peek, but I wouldn't be too excited about this. We have no idea what the QB situation is going to be in Pittsburgh after after a couple years, I'd be staying off of Freiermuth as opposed to some of the other guys we're going to talk about. Johnny, we're going to talk about Hunter Long next to the Miami Dolphins, who was also taken in the third round. Was taken in the third round. Anything you're seeing there out of the Dolphins new tight end?
Yeah, I just want to point this out because I do think that Whisper Nation could take this information and use it to their advantage when they're playing fantasy football. Sometimes it's not always about, yes, the players that get added, but it's also a way that you could use to argue to get a player. You could use it to your advantage. I'm going to tell you how you're going to do that. Okay. Hunter Long gets drafted by the Miami Dolphins. Listen, I'm going to tell you this from a person who has Mike Gesicki. Okay. When it happened, you could watch the live stream. I was frustrated because I was like, really? They already have a couple of tight ends, all this stuff. And I'm a big fan of Mike Gesicki. We know how much of an athletic freak Mike Gesicki is, right? If you look at what Hunter Long kind of does as a tight end, or what he did in college, he was the main passing option for Boston College. And that, wasn't significant. Of course, like Boston College was not like an offensive juggernaut, but it is significant that he had like a 23.3% target share there. That's what you like to see. You like to see that he has, and through that, you saw that he was very well, like he could catch the ball very well. He had really great hands. He is not the greatest blocker. So with that being said, I do not think that he will have a very big impact on especially his rookie year. And you could use this, saying, hey, it's a high draft capital that the Miami Dolphins went out and got Hunter Long. You should be nervous, right? Well, if you look at what Miami did last year at the tight end position, Miami was top 10 in targets to the tight end position with 136. Mike Gesicki had 85 of those targets, Travis. The second tight end, Durham, he had 29 targets. So I do think that this would ultimately be like for a Durham replacement. Will, Hunter Long have some games where he gets a touchdown, those kind of packages? Absolutely, because they stack the tight ends. If he goes out, they know he's a good catcher. And so I do think that he'll have a game or two where, he'll score 10 plus fantasy points. But I don't think this has an overall effect on Mike Gesicki. And so I would actually use this information to go out and try to acquire him, because I do think Mike Gesicki is going to go more naturally into his tight end position this year, which we know that he runs a lot of routes from. And so I do think he'll be a very nice late round target at the tight end position if you want to stream it.
I like that take. I think that there's some meat on the bone there as opposed to who we're talking about. But I actually think that the final guy we're going to talk about today is the most interesting non-Kyle Pitts guy to talk about. And that is Noah Gray of the Kansas City Chiefs. Was drafted in the 5th round at pick 162 overall. I think you will be excited about him in Dynasty as a stash, because eventually Travis Kelce will be shelved for the Chiefs, and we hope that doesn't happen soon. But Noah Gray stands at 6'3", 240 pounds, and 65. He's in the 65th or better percentile in speed, agility, and burst, according to his pro day. He led Duke with 51 receptions and a 19% target share in 2019. So there's a lot to like about Noah Gray. Could he be that move tight end that comes into it? We think that Kelce will obviously probably retire before Patrick Mahomes, and so there will probably be something there. For
I don't know.
Gray.
We've seen some tight ends play like Tony
true,
Gonzalez played.
What I do like about Kelce is, unlike Gronk, like he doesn't get hurt that often. So you like that. His longevity has been there. Maybe it's good genes or whatever it is, but you like to see that. Cat's Pajamas.
What do we talk about, dude? Father Time, undefeated.
Exactly. Well, Cat's Pajamas is undefeated with the best name on YouTube. He says, "What's up, guys? Welcome in. Appreciate you." Hey, Cat's Pajamas, make sure you
Kirk Cousins might think might say otherwise, that he has a better YouTube name.
Cat's Pajamas, scroll up to the top of the chat, buddy, and grab that Discord link. You're going to want to get into our free Discord channel. We'd love to have you over there. But yeah, the Noah Gray one, I think in Dynasty, you're looking in the later rounds. He's a guy to keep your eye on.
Well, especially I love the fact that you had talked about, the age. We do know Travis Kelce is getting up there in age. He's 31, 32. I think he'll be 32 by the time the season starts. And so if you're talking about anybody like you're interested in having a piece of that offense, and a very cheap one at that, Noah Gray could be that guy. So I do think that I would be keeping an eye on him if anything were to happen to Travis Kelce.
Whisper Nation, we appreciate you keeping an eye on this live stream or an ear if you're listening to the audio only version. Drop us a comment on whatever platform you're at or on any of our social media platforms to let us know who your favorite rookie QB or tight end is in Dynasty or in redraft. And let us know just any of your fantasy football questions. Remember the Discord channel. We've got that popping off, so make sure you hit that as well. We appreciate you. Johnny, you got any final thoughts for Whisper Nation here?
Yeah, one, go join the Discord chat. We will be we'll give free content there over there. We're dropping an extra video over there that you won't see on YouTube, as well as we give away free advice and a lot of other things that are going on in that Discord chat room.
Yeah, dude, we're gonna have all sorts of things, dude. We're gonna have cookbooks released in there. We're gonna have movie reviews, dude. We're gonna have sleepovers. No, but real talk, it's gonna be a great community. You want to be a part of it. The thing is, when we're on all these different platforms, we want to get to all your questions. We're trying to funnel you all over to that Discord channel. So not only can we get your answers, but Whisper Nation's going to help you out over there too, and so, all the contributors on the brand.
My final thought would be on this whole situation is Kirk Cousins. Make sure you join our Discord chat.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate that one there. Kirk Cousins, get over there in the Discord chat. Burner or not, we want you there. For Johnny Game Time Hicks, I'm Big Travy. We are the Fantasy Whisperers, and we're out of here. Peace. Join us on Monday for Mock Draft Monday.
Right here.
Oh, hey, you made it to the end of the video. If you like what you saw, go ahead and hit subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified anytime we drop new content or go live. And if you're still not sold yet, check out one of these